welcome to episode 13 of Voices of Arda, our wonderful podcast that we got here going on. I am your host, KnewBettaDoBetta, along with my wonderful co-host, Kali. What's going on?
Hey, glad to see you back this week.
Hold on. You didn't sound enthusiastic at all. We're gonna have to do that again. All right. Hey, Lord of the Rings fans.
Yeah.
My wonderful co-host, KaliCosplay.
Hey, everybody! Welcome
All
to
right.
another week of Voices of Arda.
There we go. You
So happy to have you back with us, new.
Thank you. You know what I'm saying? You're just mad mundane about the whole situation.
Oh,
You know, we gotta keep up appearances here, Kali. Yes, I am back. I was busy doing some things. You were doing some things as well.
Yeah, we've all been busy doing things, and more things to come up this week, as we will discuss in this episode.
I know we can stop like the niceties about saying things. We can actually talk about stuff when by the time this airs, we'll be able to fully discuss some stuff. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it. Kali, can you introduce our wonderful guest that we have the pleasure to have on our wonderful podcast?
Yes, so we have our podcast friends with us this week. We have Andy from Tolkien with Friends.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
And we have Chris from the Swolhirrim.
Hey.
Swolhirrim, what up?
Before we get into the topic of this episode, which we'll be looking forward to what is happening this week, the Rings of Power. It's finally happening. It's here.
I can't believe
it's dropping. It's airing.
So
we are
excited.
all going to finally
literally years of hype.
Years. Not even joking.
So many years I forgot how long it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get into that good stuff, I really want to hear about each of your podcasts, because that is why we invited you today. Chris, I know we've had you on a few times under different hats. Last week we had you on with your brewing hat, but today we are here with your podcast hat.
I really wish you had been able to like switch out different
just swapped
hats.
Out. Had I known, had I prepared for this,
here.
I'd have just.
Hat.
I mean, so I am a co-host of the Swolhirrim podcast, and it's something that we, Carlos and I, we found out that we were both big fans of fitness and Tolkien, and I used to make fun of the idea of like CrossFit in the Tolkien world, and like what that would mean and how you would train for those types of things. And this is before I ever had TikTok, so it's before it's before I saw some of the great people that are out there doing some of that nerdy fitness content, right? And there are some fantastic ones. But yeah, what we do on our podcast right now is basically, I don't really know why I came up with the format that I did. But we do a profile, which basically is a person, place, thing, very specific about that, right? Like, so this last one that I'm about to publish this week is about the Rohirrim. The fact that we have not done one about Rohan yet, and we're called the Swolhirrim is a little weird.
I'm shocked.
Namesake, it's a bit weird.
And to be completely honest, we mostly did it because the last episode that we did with Kali and KnewBetta was about the Rohirrim.
Rohan with us.
Oh yeah.
And so we decided to do that, right? But we do, we do one profile, whether it's, Rohan, it's a sword, it's Turin Bar or whatever. And then the other ones that we do are a history. So we are up to right now, we actually just recorded a history that was up to the point of Turin and Mim, like that whole story, and then Tur basically just kind of getting away from being a thrall. So we're right in that age of like, I think it's like 489, 490 of the first stage. So I've been doing this for over a year now, and we're still not through the first stage yet on our histories, but we're getting there. It's good. So yeah, that's kind of what we do right now. and maybe we'll talk a little bit later about what we might be doing later on.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Nice.
Now we can get into the real podcast, Andie's podcast.
No favorites here, as you can hear.
That's my number one
I
fan.
love it.
Hi, so I'm Andie, as everybody just said, and I started a podcast. If this is coming out last week of August, first week of September 2022, we started recording in February of this year. And I think we started actually putting things out in March or the last week of February. The whole idea kind of being me and my best friend, Anna, me kind of brain dumping about Lord of the Rings to Anna, specifically comparing Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings film trilogy to the books we know and love by Tolkien. And so the idea is we're just kind of like comparing and contrasting the adaptations. Next up on the list is The Hobbit, which is Chris, I'm going to need you on that.
Yes.
So next up is The Hobbit. And actually, so Anna just had a baby earlier this month. And so she is momming, and Kali is helping me out also on my podcast to, because we really we try to have as, many women guests and even non-binary folks as possible. Of course, we're going to have Chris, and we've had KnewBetta, and we've had some of our lovely friends, but really want to make it like a female-centered space for Tolkien and fantasy fans, just because you guys know, if you Google a Tolkien podcast, it's gonna be a white guy 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're just adding our own perspective to it and making sure that that is represented as well.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you both for your wonderful podcast, your wonderful contributions toward the fandom. We love each and every one of your episodes. We have been on both your podcasts, and we really enjoy ourselves. As a newer podcast, I don't want to speak for Kali, but I want to say that we are really inspired by what you guys do, and we are trying to walk in the footsteps of giants. We're gonna inevitably crush both of you guys, and we're gonna have the best podcast.
I mean,
that's what's gonna happen. But
well, like, everybody knows who you are. So.
Well, I just want to say that we love both of your podcasts. Our podcast is kept up and running by Kali. I'm extremely busy, so while I'm able to get on here and spew a bunch of jokes and talk with you guys now, sometimes I can't make it, and Kali keeps the whole thing going. She'll do the episode without me. She'll get the guests. She literally does everything. She's the brains of the operations. So once again, I always like to thank her and for everything she does, because it's very important that we do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys take notes out there. This female is running this thing over here, so
Right.
Not for that. Yes.
Right. That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
But now, speaking about the episodes, which hopefully everybody got to see, and who Chris will be seeing tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow
Look at
night.
that big smile on your face. Oh my gosh. And you should be smiling. It will be a joyous occasion. But let's start. So, full disclosure, KnewBetta and Andie and myself have seen it. At the time of this recording.
Oh, Chris.
Can't say too much. Chris lives hella far away, okay? You live like literally on the other side of the damn country, so
I do indeed.
You know what? Live closer.
He's working on it.
Working on it. That makes me so excited. But yeah, so at the time of this recording, 3 of us have seen it. One of us will be seeing it tomorrow. So
yeah, you guys have to be careful. I don't. It's great. Like
I was realizing that as I was putting my notes together. I was like, oh no.
That's why I put out a bonus episode of Talking with Friends with Nick before. I was like, I'm gonna like theorize on stuff now, because otherwise but now here we are. So now I have to.
I mean, like, that's a great thing for me. I mean, us talking about this right now, I get to still talk about all of the things that I've seen in the trailer and everything with zero context, and it might trigger
and
some
now
of you
I
guys.
guess
So
you
just watch
have
it.
to like watch our faces as you say things. Be like, oh, can I respond to that? Oh.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yo, that's funny, man. We'll do our best to just grin and bear it, and you know, not give anything away. No spoilers. This is a spoiler-free zone, guys. So yeah, we're gonna get into what we can and cannot talk about. You know, and we'll just we'll play it by ear, and then after tomorrow, then it's full bombs away.
It's going.
Full bombs
It's just going. Oh
it's
yeah.
going down.
True.
We're gonna probably,
I don't want to say anything that would, you know, like I want Chris, I want you to see it the same the way that we saw. Like,
yeah,
I was like, well, I don't know.
Experience, like, so I'm not going to say anything, man. It is what it is. But we could talk about the experience of being at the screening, the special screening we went to. So full disclosure, I was invited to a special screening of The Rings of Power, the first two episodes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why are some premieres and some special screenings?
I can't.
Did anybody tell you? All right.
I could not tell you.
I'm just wondering.
Some some
Sure.
you know, it's some kind of legal thing. It's some legal.
Yeah,
legal
I think the LA one was the premiere in the US. But because I think it's via country. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think something like that.
Because they called the London one the global premiere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
because you know, if it's in the same country, two premieres and different dates is kind of, it doesn't really make sense. So one was a screening of it, one was a premiere. So we got invited to the screening in New York, which was awesome. The great thing about it was I got to invite 10 people to come experience the first two episodes with me. Now I know Chris is over there. He looks happy, but he's pretty upset that I didn't invite him.
They're counting like, who did you invite then?
What he needs to understand is, as much as people get on here and they're like, "Oh, Amazon, you're a shill. Amazon paid this and did that." Amazon did not pay for anybody to get there or anything like that. You had to get there your own way, and you know, you were just able to see the first two episodes. So literally, I had to invite people who were relatively close and could get there, I know, without too much of a problem. You know, so I felt like, even though I don't know your financial status, you could be rich for all I know. I felt like it might be a bit of a hassle for you to get all the way to New York. And everyone I did invite were more on the local side. I know Andie is very local. I'm very local. I literally just drove in. She just drove in or took the train, or
took the train.
You know, Kali not so, but actually yes, because unbeknownst to her country and our state touch. So
you guys share a border.
Really, we share a border, so it's not really that crazy. And she made it through.
1 day's drive. And,
not bad. We had the wonderful squad, basically the squad. It was the squad of all squads of the Lord of the Rings. We had the trivia team. We had the Bard of Arda is in the building. He was there. You know what I'm saying? We had my man Belmont. We had Fronos. It was literally squatted up. It was squatted up. It was sickening. I invited a couple other creators. My wife came. It was just
that's awesome.
Magical.
And, oh my gosh, it was so great to meet Carrie. Like, yes, so great.
Yes, that's Star Wars Tia, for you guys who don't know. She actually does Lord of the Rings content from time to time. She's really interested in getting into the fandom, and I love her content. So I was like, you know what? I know she's local. Let me see if she will be down to go. I know she's trying to get into Lord of the Rings, and I just like her passion. And boom, she was down with it. It was amazing. You guys' faces made the whole trip for me. I know I'm supposed to be focused on the episodes, but you guys' faces and the excitement of you guys hearing that you were able to come to this screening, that made it my whole life. Like, literally getting to meet you guys was beyond like anything, because I've been being helped by you guys literally in my journey on TikTok. Like, you guys literally, I literally, like, Kali's the boss. Kali is like literally everybody knows. It's like I say, Kali's the boss. She's like the mother. She takes care of things. But when I say, well, my favorite is Andie. Andie does not play no shit. Even though I'm just joking and I say favorite just because I just like to make Kali mad. But Andie is Andie is the homie. Like Andie does not play about me. Like when we're online, anybody talking crazy, she's coming to my defense. She makes wonderful content. She's very mindful of everyone. Very kind. It's just a aura and an experience that you would hope to have with everybody in the fandom. You get exactly what you get from Andie, and then the guys are all like, it's like a brotherhood there. Like we literally for hours.
Totally.
I'll be trying to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I'm getting Lord of the Rings questions asked to me 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, what? Go to sleep, guys. Like,
I
what are
know
you
they're
talking about?
messed up.
Like, they're on it at all times. Super kind, super nice. The Discord that we've been able to put together, and it's just took on a life of its own. Is just literally amazing. And like I said, I can't stress enough how much Kali is responsible for that. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a certain amount of followers, and people might be like, "Oh, knew better, do better." You got no. Kali is responsible for literally putting most of these things together. So it's not me; it's Kali. So make sure you give her props and respect, and it's all you guys with the great content that you guys do. People were thanking me, and I felt it really weird. They was thanking me for inviting them, and I was like, "What? Thank you guys. You guys hold this whole thing together. I just make Lord of the Rings content. People like it, and I participate in this and that and the third. But the ones that really are the glue to everything are you guys. So I should be thanking you. You guys deserve this. You know what I'm saying? So if I came upon the opportunity to, be able to present it out there, then of course I was going to do that. I owe it to you. You guys don't owe me nothing. Like, thank you so much for everything you guys do, and always being there and being the great fandom that we want to be a part of, and not being negative in any way, shape, or form, and standing up for what's right. And is this something we built on this podcast? We always try to speak up for things that are right. We always try to speak out and be inclusive, and all these things. And this goes without being said, with you guys. You know what I'm saying? Chris literally hosting. We needed a host, and Kali reached out, and they didn't even bat an eyelash. The Swolhirrim literally came through and asked ridiculously hard questions. I'm still mad about it. What were you trying to do to us, guy? So all that is said to be said, that thank you guys, man. You guys deserved it. I'm glad you guys got to see these episodes. We all were really excited. You guys all looked great. You looked amazing. Really, you got to just be in your element, and you should have saw you guys. Like, I was peeping you guys, and you probably didn't realize I was watching you guys, but because
Oh no.
I have like
Nerds on parade.
it's crazy. Like, so when I, like all the credit I give Kali is super justified and everything, but at the same time, like, she knows that I'm not just being lax and not not doing anything. I'm literally inundated with things I'm doing all the time, so it's hard for me to maintain like communication sometimes, or I literally couldn't even hang out with you guys as much as I could, because I have things that I'm doing for certain things. And
Right.
my TikTok has afforded me opportunities to talk to this person or that person or whatever the case may have you. And I want to be dialed in more, and literally Kali just literally is hyper focused and takes care of that for me, and just literally just takes the reins. It's like, go do what you need to do. I got this. So you know what I'm saying? So I'm literally doing that, and you guys see that I'm doing that, which I'm like so thankful for. You like, you see, I'm not just running in circles. I'm actually doing things, and but I'm watching you guys, and I'm like, wow, look at them. They're talking to the cast, and they're like, and you're in a group, and it was like ducklings like following each other. It was so dope. It was amazing.
I
So
love
I
it.
know.
I'm
Can
really
I say
proud of you
that
guys.
my
And happy for you
shining
guys.
moment was like when Corey, aka the Tolkien professor, I went up and I just said hi, and he goes, "Andie, right?" And I was like, "Yes." And then afterwards, Pete was like, "Oh man, you guys talked to Corey. I really wanted to meet him." I was like, I'll introduce you."
Look at her go.
We got first names, so
Yeah,
First name
right?
basis. Woo.
man, listen,
I
man. When I
know.
tell you, he's the genuine, real deal, man. Honored to say that me and him are actually really cool, and
Yeah.
like we're gonna be working together and doing some stuff. So that'll be soon to come, and you guys is just bear with me, man. We got some cool stuff coming up. You
Woo!
guys will be really
That's
excited, man.
awesome.
So like I said, some things that I can say, I can't say. It's a
Right.
world of embargoes and things like that.
It's
But
so hard.
it's so hard,
I'm
yeah.
like so bad with secrets, honestly. This whole
But
thing.
it's
I was
all for
like,
good. It's all for good stuff because we want everybody to like we're saying. Chris hasn't seen this, so people
yeah,
are like, "Well, why can't you say anything? This is weird." Is it? No, it's not. Because if I go on a spiel about what I saw, it would ruin Chris's experience. And he's in the fold. He's in the now with us, but he hasn't
mhm.
seen it. Is that fair to him that I say, "Oh, X, Y, Z, da, da, da"? No, I want him to have his own experience, and I want him to be a fresh experience for him. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
this is why there's embargoes. I completely understand because I would not want somebody to ruin what I saw. What I saw, I needed to be fresh. I didn't want anybody to tell me anything about it. I need to be able
yeah,
to make my own opinion about it and not have some kind of, you know, preconceived notions about what's going on or even hints about anything. And that's what happened. We were completely surprised and fresh, and it was amazing. And I want him to experience that as well. So he's not getting any spoilers from me. The most I'll say is I really enjoyed myself. It was
yeah.
epic and all that type of stuff, but he's definitely not getting any spoilers. So all those out there in podcast land or social media land or just in the land in general, this
Land.
is why we don't give spoilers. This is why we have embargoes or things we can't say at certain times. This is why we wait for everybody to be able to have had a chance to see the episodes before we really give our full-blown opinions. It's not because there's some kind of secret conspiracy going on. There's not. Nobody's a paid shill. None of that stuff. Which I'm kind of getting sick of saying, but it is what it is.
No, it's
I'll
the
fight these
most
weirdos into the death.
boring narrative I've ever heard.
Oh, I got
I'm
a
like,
trick for that
really?
narrative now because by their logic, their HBO paid shills by their logic.
Yeah,
HBO is
true.
paying them. HBO is
To
literally
like
paying them
promote
to
House of the Dragon.
to promote House of the Dragon and bomb Lord of the Rings. And by their logic, they're saying we're paid. Well, how hard you're going, it only makes sense that somebody paid you because you're going mad hard about people you don't know.
Yeah, it's like the whole Occam's razor thing. Like, they refuse to accept the most obvious or simple answer
Yeah.
for the phenomenon that a huge group of people, or not huge, but a good group of people
Huge.
who huge, massive, whatever. I don't know how many people were there. I wasn't like, but like the people
Yeah.
who are constantly talking about Tolkien, who are like on record of enjoying multiple versions of adaptations, like from the cartoons to Peter Jackson
all the
stuff.
adaptations are different too, and they
Yeah,
like all of them. So like,
you know what
what's
I
the
mean?
problem?
Like, yeah, I mean, it's just like we're ready. You know what I mean? Like, we're not like, and by ready, I mean not ready to shit all over it. We're ready to experience it.
Experience.
And
And if we see something we don't like, trust me, we're outspoken people. We're gonna say, "Hey, I loved it, but I don't like that shit. I don't like that what I saw." And you know what I'm saying? Even what I was able to say, I said I had a problem with a couple things, but they didn't ruin the show for me. But I did have a problem with them, and I said that to the people. I was like, I
and it's
loved it, but
also
I didn't
like
like this.
it's
But I
only 2
understood why they had to do it.
episodes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. 2 episodes. I'm not gonna like every single thing. I'm gonna like every single thing. No, I'm not. But what I know of television and what I know of how things work, okay, I understand why you had to do that. Hey, it is what it is. But it does not change the fact that I completely loved everything about the show. You know what I mean, at all. But it doesn't change that. It's just I knew that had to go that way, and it is what it is. That's what every show. You think Game of Thrones? If you think Game of Thrones followed the books, they literally made up the whole last 4 seasons. There was no. What are you talking about? Like everything was changed and different, and the books aren't even made yet. So it doesn't make any sense. Their logic isn't really logic, so I should stop calling it their logic because it's nonsensical. You know what I mean?
That's
But
true.
I digress, and I'll let Kali direct this episode further before we go down that dark rabbit hole.
Let's keep it light over here, KnewBetta.
Let's talk about the cast members. What are we looking forward to from the cast that they have announced so far?
Yeah, I
Like
mean, like
them as
one of
characters, or
Well,
what do you mean?
yeah, like the characters, and
Mm-hmm.
if
so
you
it was funny because I remember, so it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about how I remember 3.5, almost 4 years ago, when they released the images of the map, right? It
Oh
was that
yeah.
long ago. It was almost 4 years
Jeez.
ago that they released those images, right? And then a year later, they started releasing cast photos.
Yes.
But they didn't say who anybody was.
Mm-mm.
Right, like they didn't
Nobody.
say who anybody was playing or anything like that. They just released a few cast photos here, a few cast photos there, right? I'm excited. When I saw those photos at first, I wanted specific people to be specific people. Now the funny thing is the person who is the woman who's playing Muriel, I wanted her to be a Numenorian queen, just not that one. I wanted her to be Arendis because we all know that I love Aldarion and Arendis. I wanted that to be a part of the story. It makes sense that it's not, right? And it's perfectly fine that it's not. But that's who I wanted when I first saw the cast. I was like, I hope she's playing Arendis. And the funny thing is the guy who plays Gilgalad is who I wanted to be Aldarion. And it's because
Oh.
I've seen him in a few other things. Number one, he's Abraham Lincoln in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunters, which is one of the best movies ever made.
I had
I'm not
no
kidding.
idea.
Watch that movie. It's great. But he's also in a few other things that I've seen, and I love who he is. So I'm excited to see him as Gilgalad. He doesn't necessarily strike me as a high elf. But I'm excited to see how he portrays it and what he does with it. So I think he is one of the ones that I'm most intrigued on.
Mm.
But I am excited to see all of, like, I can't imagine Ishmael just not nailing his role in every way possible.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he just, in every preview I have seen, in everything, like, of all of the actors that I have seen doing their jobs in the preview, even Morphid, who I'm super excited about being Galadriel,
Mm-hmm.
even her, out of everybody, when I see scenes of him in previews, I'm like, this guy
Without
is,
saying
he is a
anything.
woodland elf. Like, he is killing
Yes.
life. Like, it is so good. So good.
Without saying anything, but I going in and just having seen the trailers, just like we all have, and like watching them multiple times, I wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't particularly invested in like Arondir and Bronwyn's story or the Harfoots. I was just kind of like, yeah, they'll be there, but like I don't know where it's going, so I didn't really think about them that much, But after these 2 episodes, I love what they're setting up, and I might love these like new characters the most so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yo,
We'll see. It's only 2 episodes, but I was like, okay, interested. I like what they're building, and it's clearly a lot of setup. It's a lot of like catching up with everybody, but I'm interested. I'm here for it.
so same, but without spoiling too much or anything like that.
Trying.
Trying, right? So it's well documented now that I was able to go to Comic-Con and actually meet the cast and have extended conversation with them. We had dinner and with lunch, and for extended period of time, I was able to talk to each cast member, and there's certain cast members that go above and beyond. If there's any solace to you, uh, top characters that I met, obviously Moyford and you know uh, the gentleman who plays Celebrimbor, also Elrond. But huge surprise, Gilgalad.
Mm.
When I tell you this gentleman who is Ben Kingsley, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Benjamin Walker.
Benjamin
Ben,
Walker.
yeah,
Sorry,
Ben Walker.
Benjamin Walker. I don't know why I said Kingsley. Benjamin Walker. Benjamin Walker. First of all, one of the nicest gentlemen I've ever met. Took the time to come around and talk to me, even though we were supposed to kind of, move on to the next thing what we were doing, and knows not only his character but the other characters in and out. So if I can say anything without fully saying anything, just know he knows what he's doing and where he's going with his character. So use your own opinion and judgment, but watch out for him. There, other characters and stories will surprise you to what you actually latch onto more the most. So we'll talk about that after tomorrow, because I was very surprised at what made me the most happy.
Yeah.
It's completely unexpected. I think I talked to you two about what really kind of made me the most happy, which threw me, because I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So I was very surprised, just like Andy said. It was, she said certain characters she might like the most, but there's certain things that they did with the script that I actually liked the most. And I was like, what? That fact that you did that made my heart sing. This is crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm completely invested. This is amazing. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have those moments. So,
well, and talking about like excitement leading up to it and stuff like that. And I know that like writers are going to do what they're going to do, producers are going to do what they're going to do, directors are going to do what they're going to do, right? And I do like that they went the route of different directors for different episodes. I actually like when shows do that. I think it's pretty cool, and they did that for a few different of the episodes. But I still remember, and look, people can say what they want about it. They can hate on whatever they want and talk about source material and everything else. And maybe it's just Amazon hyping things up, right? And I acknowledge that, but I have never seen, while a show is being produced, while things are getting hyped up, all of this stuff, somebody put out on Instagram, like, this is happy Tolkien Day, this is what all of our actors are reading, and it's every one of them with a copy of the Silmarillion, reading different parts of that. They're on the beach in New Zealand, they're doing, and this was 2 years ago, right? 2-3 years ago that they put this out. And it's like, even if they only read it one time,
they're not faking. They're not faking. They know that shit.
Yes,
they really read that book. I'm trying to tell you, the notes,
I mean, whenever
everything.
I see them,
I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize, Chris. But people need to understand this. People just talk, and it's like you're talking and just saying stuff. You don't have any idea. You know what I'm saying? I could be like, Callie's purple. I could literally just say Callie's purple, but clearly she's not purple.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could say it all I want to.
Except for certain days.
You know what I'm saying? But she's not.
Right. No, absolutely. And like that's
teal? No, I'm just joking. But
and that really is the thing, right? Is like we're talking about that, and like we're talking about the excitement leading up to it. And I mean it. I think as soon as things were announced, there were people who just wanted to shit on it. As soon as things were announced, and I just remember that first little sliver of map, and I lost my mind. I was like, this is going to be great. And we knew nothing about it. We didn't know the story. There was rumors and there was everything else, but we knew nothing about it. And what you guys were talking about with the embargo and everything else. And I didn't want to jump in because I really loved what you guys were talking about with that. But like, I am not that person. I'm not that person that's going to look up things online to ruin it for me. I don't know. Those people I don't understand. I don't understand people looking up, like spoilers and leaks and stuff. I don't want it. I don't want to know. Don't give me any information. In fact, and I've said this multiple times on my TikToks and everything else, lie to me. Like absolutely lie to me about everything, because that's what I want. I want you to lie to me in the trailers and everything else. Lie to me about what it is so that I can sit down and be not just blown away, but pleasantly surprised by some of the things, like what KnewBetta said, some of the things that I would have been like, no clue, never would have thought of that. You know, like that's what I want. And what I'm excited about with what they have done, they gave the actors the reference material, right? And again, I understand directors, producers, writers are going to do things. They're going to manipulate stories. They have to, right? But if you know the characters, if you know the stories, if you know the background of where it's coming from, then that's what you need.
That's what you need.
Right?
Yeah.
And
so they've got that down.
Yeah.
Like easy, you know?
And so I'm super excited about that because we're getting a good swath of characters. We've already been told by Amazon that there are other ones that we might not see in the first season that we will see. Right? Like we're getting Círdan.
Círdan!
Right? We're getting Círdan the shipwright, who's always getting shafted. But we're getting Círdan the shipwright, right? And so there are people that we're going to get as well. And that's the, like, again, this is the good part of no spoilers of them keeping things as tight as they are, is we get to, as the story progresses, we get to be excited about new people, new characters, people that we know exist in the world, but we haven't seen yet. And we get, like, if we get just a little hint, a little Easter egg, a little prod at this or that, we're like, oh, I think we might be seeing this person. And then we get to get excited about that. Right. Which is really cool. So
really cool. Cal?
Yeah, I have to say I agree that the new characters, as much, you know, drama as controversy as they've stirred pre-show, I think I am looking, when I think about whose stories I'm looking forward to, it's them, because we don't know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen to certain of the other characters, because that's somewhat well established. But these new ones, it's all fresh. Like, we deserve some surprises too, no matter how much we've torn apart the lore and all of that stuff, and how much some of you know is frightening and possibly unhealthy. But
who she's talking about,
right?
Not you. But yeah, the fact that we get to, even for those people who know so much, that there's something fresh and something new for you to experience, I think that is really great.
And why is that a bad thing? Like, people think that that's a bad thing. Well, naysayers believe that this is a bad thing. Put this out as a point of a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
It's not
like
a bad
the
thing.
world is so incredibly vast, and I've seen it like talked about by some people who will back up, you know, content creators like us, in saying, like, the world of Middle Earth is so vast. How could they not create new characters? Like, how are they going to show how are they going to show Numenor and not give us new characters? How are they going to show, like, what's the name of the Kingsguard? You know what I mean? Like, it's like that type of thing. Like,
any sense whatsoever what they say.
Like, we have to understand those things, and we get to, like you said, all of us, even those who have read the Silmarillion, even those who have poured over things, we get to find new things in it. And I just see that as a good thing.
Every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that this show is clearly created by people that understand that every time you read Tolkien, you get something new out of it, and every time the next version of you reads Tolkien, you get something new out of it. And so that's like the vibe to me. You know, just how as you grow and change, you get new things out of these stories. And so yeah, I just think that they've poured over the Silmarillion and they know it, right? And so they're using, and this is something I said before we even saw the shows, but I'm just going to reiterate here, is that, like, they are using Lord of the Rings and, like, the appendices as, like, this text, right? But that they have that background knowledge of the Silmarillion and probably Unfinished Tales and all that to know what to look for, so that even if they can't make a direct reference to something, they know how to weave this story together without it being wholly divorced. And it can't be, right? The appendices are written by the same man.
Right.
So, but, you know, it's going to it's going to be smart.
It's going to be said without being said.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so
which is really cool too.
You know, one
they
of the
do that
storylines
so
that you guys
well.
were talking about, and one of the storylines that I am also excited about is Bronwyn and Arondir. Anyway,
Arondir,
and one of the reasons, going to what Andy was saying, I mean, unless it's simply something coming out of your head, or you've read passages from Morgoth's Ring, you've never seen a point where an elf and a human woman are in love, right? This is very much an obscure thing that never really made it into any of the books, unless you're looking at some of the history of Middle Earth stuff. And we get to see that play out. And what that means, because anybody who's read it, we know what it meant for the other elf man and human woman. It didn't it kind of sucked, right? And it'll be interesting to see where that story goes here and what it means for them. And I think that's I mean, again, that's awesome. And it's something that was talked about, but a little bit more obscurely. So we're getting kind of a fresh voice on it, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Hard agree.
I hard agree as well. That's a thing now. Hard agree.
Yeah. Not a mild, not a somewhat.
There.
Pull the scale all the way to the other end.
all the way to a 10, maybe an 11.
Exactly.
All right, so that's the cast. What locations, Middle Earth locations, are we looking forward to seeing? Because, I mean, from the previews, all those landscapes, those sweeping shots are capturing my heart so much.
I'm looking forward to Aragion.
Okay.
Aragion, Linden.
That's a good one.
Mordor.
And that's one that's so interesting to think about, because in Lord of the Movies, Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, I don't even think they ever say Holland. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even really, it's just like
you go through Holland, and I explained that a couple times in different podcasts. The shot where the scene is like the really famous shot of them walking, and there's a broken tower in the background, and the camera pans like this, and you see it, and people are like, oh, they're just walking in the field. That's Holland. That is Aragion. And
but they never say anything. I mean, it's a nice little
you have
wink,
to really
wink.
just kind of be on your P's and Q's with the lore to know that. But I always got hype. So that's one of the things. And then, Holland, Aragion, whatever you want to call it, one's the men's version of, the place. It goes hand in hand. So if you want to see Aragion, you automatically want to see Khazad-dûm. And then you just think about what you see in Peter Jackson's films, and of Moria from the books, and it's called the Black Pit, and then to think that Khazad-dûm is the same place, but it's in its peak, it's in its full.
Yes, that's what I'm so excited about, because most people's point of reference is this abandoned area. Like, even in Lord of the Rings, the books, like, they get attacked by wolves. Like, it's not a happy time when they're here. By
the Watcher in the Water, orc chieftains, trolls, Balrog. It is terrible. One of the members of the Fellowship likened it to Mordor, and Gandalf had to correct them and say, this ain't Mordor, but it is bad. And it's like, you're thinking like, this is like the worst place ever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's terrible, man. And to see the complete opposite of that, to see what Gimli was talking about, you see Gimli's excitement come to fruition even in the past, and he's calling out these ancient names of his home that he just knows from afar, and the book is so touching. And he stops at the stone when he goes past the silver load, and he's just paying homage, and you're like, what is he paying homage to? I know it was great from the description, but what was it really like? And then you just go back, if you're a lore master, you go back to the Silmarillion and you read, and you know that the greatest, when you read that, it talks about the other dwarf mansions, and then it pauses for a second and says, but the greatest, and it was Khazad-dûm, far in the east, and it just it's the way that it's written, you know that this is some different shit right here, and it's something to behold. The way Gandalf introduces the wild elf, and literally, it just the music in Peter Jackson's film when he lights the staff, and you're looking down upon it, and Sam says, "Wow, there must have been 1,000 dwarves down here, busy as badgers." To do all of this. This is craziness. It takes 4 days to get to the other side of this vast city. It's just amazing to see it come into light and to see it in its full glory.
And I'm excited to see what that means. You know what I mean? Like, what does a dwarven city
look like?
You
what
know,
does it feel
like how does it
how do they do
operate?
this? How do they do that? So this
Well,
is
and I
really
feel like
interesting things.
I feel like that's going to be the most exciting thing, I guess, when we're talking about places. My geography of Middle Earth is not amazing. That is definitely Carlos's world. He's the maps guy. But what I would say is that I think what I'm most excited for is that I do believe the Second Age. Let's like put aside Nargothrond and Gondolin, right? But the Second Age is kind
Never
of
put
this
aside
height.
Gondolin.
It's kind of this height of engineering. I think that's what I'm most excited for, is like all of the things that we know are in ruin in Lord of the Rings are part of the world at this point, right?
Absolutely.
And we're seeing that, and we're seeing it be, we're seeing the height of men's ability to engineer in Numenor, and we get to see Linden. We get to see some of these amazing places that we've heard about and we've read about, right? But we get to see an interpretation of that, and I think that's what I'm most excited for, is not a specific place, but the things that have been, that were gone by the time we got Peter Jackson's movies, that were gone by those times. We get to see the things from the past, the height of all of these elven cities, human cities, dwarven cities, and then what you were even saying, like even Mordor, right? Mordor, like we get to see something that is different. It is a different Mordor.
Yeah, because that makes me think about even more than Numenor, just because I'm a nostalgia queen. But when we think about, because I'm making the assumption, like I don't know anything, but like that Numenor is already going to be like going by the time the show is like in it, right? They're not going to show us like the building of Numenor. However, I hope that means that we get to see the building of Minas Tirith, of Osgiliath, of the Morannon. Right? Like originally, I don't know. I'm
that is very good points. So, absolutely. So at some point we're going to have to get to the point where we are in the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movies, because that's the end of the Second Age.
Yeah, starting to really colonize those places.
Yeah.
And I want to see, like, because it's always like dang, how the heck did they build this? Like when you're reading Lord of the Rings, and even when you're just seeing it in Peter Jackson's, like, thank, yes.
I mean, can you imagine seeing some of these places with like scaffolding up or whatever, like they're building it type of thing? But and to be completely honest, and again, some of it was taken from illustrations and everything anyway. And I've said this though, I would love different interpretations of those things. Like if we can get, like, stay true to the descriptions, right? But if we can get a different interpretation of what these towers, what these cities, what these places look like, I want that. Like I would love to see how somebody else sees, just like I'm excited that we get to see a different interpretation of Narsil. I want to see a different interpretation of some of these places that we know exist during Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and I would also think that like something like Minas Ithil, like when we see it as Minas Morgul, it's like creepy and gross. And so what does it look like pre-Nazgulification? Like what is it?
Nazgulification. That is the greatest word I've ever heard ever. I'm going to use it now. Thank you.
Andy's just pulling out new words all over the place.
It sounds right.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Not only Minas Ithil, but there's places that we go through and we pass by in the Lord of the Rings that we aren't even thinking about. So we got to think that Daggerlad is going to be there. It's just not the dead marshes. There's no dead marshes.
Right.
There's Greenwood the Great as opposed to Mirkwood. It's not corrupted. It's not bad. There's no Dol Guldur. It's Amun Blanc. It's the Bald Hill, and Orfer is the king, and he resides there. And Thranduil is the prince, not Legolas. And the elves are in southern Mirkwood, like southern Greenwood, southern Mirkwood. They're not in the north like they are in the Third Age. This is before they moved. There's wonderful things going on. Even Lothlorien is not the Lothlorien that we know.
Yeah,
it's not
and like
protected
we
by
should
the ring.
see the establishment of Imladris, Rivendell.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely. Which originally was just a refuge at first.
Yep.
It was just I'm backed into a corner type thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't have the protection of the ring. Remember, they couldn't wear their rings until Sauron's fall.
Yeah.
So just imagine that. So yeah, I think we did a good job on the locations.
The places.
I think we killed that.
Yeah, no, I play Lord of the Rings online shamelessly, and my favorite part
very shamelessly.
And KnewBetta's like, there should be some shame.
There should be some shame.
running off cliffs and
Lothlorien is a hard place because I fall off the flats a lot, and yeah. I'm not so good at the gaming part, but I love the story. But I love messing around in Moria. It's Moria at this point of the game, but I can see so there's layers to it in the game, and there's like water features underneath the layers, which I wasn't expecting. I don't know, I maybe wasn't paying enough attention during the trilogy, but no, when I'm walking around my little character in Moria, I can you can sort of see, I mean, this is the game obviously, so it could be completely nothing at all for what we're gonna see, but that I'm super excited because
I kind of
I've
love
seen
that
the
idea
ruins of it, and
because I know that when I was talking with Josh and Nick on Tolkien with Friends, we were talking about the music, which we may segue to in a second, but Josh was talking about the instruments used give, kind of harken back to like a Greco-Roman type of thing, and that's kind of related to Numenor. And so thinking about the water features and you're in a mountain, and there's a lot of things that you could think about in relation to how they may get their water, but I kind of love the idea of it's almost like the dwarvish version of Rome as well. I mean, everybody gonna fall at some point, but just like they have the city of fountains kind of idea, but underground, and how it's tapping into that groundwater, that really fresh
and all this stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll do that at all, but I think that's a really cool idea. If they did
I want to see it. My game says it, so it must be
my
canon.
game says
My game says it, so it must be canon.
So I'm gonna have to cut out a little earlier than you guys because I gotta go be a dad to my son. But just
I can't
finish.
Believe
It is what it is. Finish up the episode strong, guys. I know Callie will do what she needs to do, but I gotta go take care of something with my son. But
awesome.
I will be back for the next podcast, and it's been an honor and a pleasure talking to you both.
So good to see you.
Not so much Callie, but you too. Absolutely.
It's great to be on it again.
Thank you so much, man. I had a wonderful time talking about the Rings of Power, what we could talk about. I'm literally biting my nails in anticipation for Chris to see the episodes. So I know he's going to love them. I know he's going to have wonderful things to say, and then I know he's going to have some critiques, and we're going to get into all of that, and it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to a very specific part to see if we agree on this thing right there.
Oh my god,
we were fighting the other day, and I
know, and I love it. I love
that shit, and I wanted to keep fighting, but everybody was like, "No, guys,
I know.
No, let's just move on. No, let's not move on.
No,
let's not move on because I'm right and Chris is wrong."
And I know that you've got to go, but what I was actually talking about that, and I was saying how I like that because you and I got to argue, we got to fight, we've we've even argued a little bit on podcasts, and my whole thing with that and what I liked about it is it gets to show everybody in the fandom that like I still respect you, I still like love you as a friend, as like it doesn't change how I feel.
Not at all.
And it doesn't make me angry. It's just one of these things that we get to have those discussions and we can walk away with it still being like, no, I still believe what I believe.
Well, we can never have a reality TV show then.
Yeah. Everybody would be like, there's not enough drama here, guys.
There's not enough. That's what it's all about, man. Respect and respecting other people's opinions. You know what I'm saying? If you can speak to, let's say I don't 100% agree with Chris, right? But Chris can speak to his point perfectly. So even if I don't 100% agree with him, I can't argue with what he's saying in the sense of he backs up what he's saying with his book knowledge and his reasonings and stuff like that. So where it's like I have to respect it. And I'm like, well, that's well laid out and well thought out. You didn't just say that just to spite me or just to be like, na boo boo.
Exactly.
That's which feels like a lot of this hate is just
yes.
That type of shit. Like what?
Right.
So, man, thank you so much for the discord. And I'm right. You're wrong about the, you know what we're talking about.
We all know.
Guys, I'm gonna get out of here.
Okay.
Sorry for breaking out early. Kali, don't kill me. Gotta go take care of my son real quick.
Awesome.
Duty calls.
Wish him well.
We'll see you.
I'll talk to you guys later. All right.
Talk to you
All
later.
right, guys.
Bye.
All right, you two.
Yeah.
And then there were three.
The last thing that I really did want to touch on was the music, because of course the soundtrack has come out. Have you listened to it?
Many times.
Many times.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have
Yeah.
one that you like go back to, or you do usually listen to it all in full?
So the I think it's called To the Boats or The Boats. One of those. It's something like that. Like there's a reason why I like that. Part of it is actually because, and I don't know if Andy would agree with me here, but part of it is it's very similar to. I point you out because of what I'm about to say. It feels, there are parts of it that feels very similar to a Hayao Miyazaki movie. Specifically something like Princess Mononoke, like the way that some of the strings come in, but then there's those timpanis and the horns. Like that's very Princess Mononoke. That's very like Spirited Away type of feeling, right? So I really like that. I guess I'll leave it there unless you want me to go into my personal controversial opinion about the music.
What is it?
Which is now we have to hear it.
I think, I swear you guys have heard it before, but maybe not. I don't love that Howard Shore did the main theme.
Right.
I would rather of it all been Bear. And the biggest, there's two reasons for that. Number one, I actually don't think the main theme is that epic. Like of a theme, it's not like, it doesn't really pull me in like some of the other music does, right? But then also I'm like, I get the reverence. And I've said this a million times on different things, I know why they did it. I know from a television perspective, I know from all of these other things, I know why. I'm not arguing why. What I'm saying is I wish that Howard Shore and pretty much anything that we know from like the movies were just kept separate, right? Because this isn't a connected universe, right? It is a same story that we are being told, but it's not within the universe that we've seen. Like there was somebody that called there's a prequel to the movies. I'm like, it's not. This is not a prequel to the movies. This is a story that we have been told that is on the same like in the same realm as that, but this is not the prequel to the movies. This is a story of itself, The Rings of Power. Like, because anyway, that's kind of how I feel about it, which is why I feel like Howard Shore shouldn't have necessarily been a part of it. And
yeah,
yeah,
I kind of wonder what Bear would have done with it. I mean, I don't mind it. I don't know if we heard it. I don't remember if we did. Then I wasn't paying attention. When we recently. But I will say that when I was listening to, and I love Bear McCreary. I've loved Bear McCreary since Battlestar, and when I first heard the soundtrack, I was like, all right, sure. But then when I saw it paired with the show, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
This makes sense now.
And that's the thing is like I'm the same, like I don't know if you guys ever watched it. It didn't last incredibly long. I thought it was a great show, but he did the music for Da Vinci's Demons. And it is amazing music for that show. But with that, and with what we've gotten from Rings of Power so far, like I had somebody say, one of the people that I know that is a huge fan, Marley, she's been on my podcast before. She talked about the Astari with us.
Yeah.
She was saying that she's not getting like big feels on it. And one of my things was like, I honestly believe because it's not a cinematic score. It's a television.
True.
Like it's for TV. Each character has an intro. Like that's not a movie thing. That is a TV thing. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
So
I wonder if you'll feel differently tomorrow.
I may. Yeah.
But I just want to say, like, with Howard, it's so hard to compare because, like, I definitely never heard it without having it fully connected to the visuals, you know?
Right.
It is now, they are now so intertwined. And, like, on one hand, I don't believe that Lord of the Rings movies would be what they are without Howard, with what Howard did. But at the same time, I cannot divorce Howard from, like, his Khazad Dûm from the Balrog, or, like, his Fangorn theme with the tree beard, or you know what I mean. So it's interesting to put out. I mean it was really exciting to get Bear's music before we really had anything to go with it, but I feel like I liked it more with the visuals, and also I think it's I really want to watch it again because I really
you'll get to in
just
2
a
days.
few more days.
You'll get to in 2 days. Don't worry about it.
It's just gonna be one of those things that, like, for me, I mean, if you want to go backwards to like 11-year-old me and just like, you know, like devouring Lord of the Rings like on the repeats, I feel like 11 again, and that I just want to keep watching it. Like I want to see every little detail. I am fingers crossed that they'll put out like what do I want, not just extra features but like a commentary version.
Yeah, I mean most places are doing that now, right? I mean like Game of Thrones does that stuff and whatever. So
but I've never cared before.
Right. No, absolutely.
I'm gonna watch everything they put out for this.
Yeah, I mean like that's the thing, like, right? I mean a lot of us, I mean that's what we do. That's why we've listened to so many podcasts all talking about the exact same thing. Like we've heard the stories before. We know if you've listened to a single Tolkien podcast, everyone else is talking about the exact same thing, but you don't care because you just want to hear more and you want to hear other people's takes. And sometimes if you're like me, you want to hear it and argue with them, even though they can't hear you.
That's very active listening.
Yeah. But I do like, I like the music. I'm excited. I mean, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't ruin anything. I doubt it violates anything, but it's like the idea of like, maybe it will feel a little bit more cinematic. And I don't know that I brought this up in a podcast. I think maybe we talked about it when we were having our mirth get together, but I didn't get to see the trilogy in theaters. I didn't have that opportunity because I was living in Mexico at the time, and was not allowed to go to theaters while I was there. So I did not get that experience. I saw all 3 Hobbit movies in the theater, because
you never went to a re-release? Did you ever have a re-release?
I've never seen one. Nope. So I missed out on that. And so being able to get the tickets for this, which I almost didn't, by the way, because I was like, I don't need to set an alarm. I'll remember.
Yeah. Me
set
every
the
time.
alarm, set that alarm.
Who doesn't like how do I not know myself by now? I'm 39 years old. Like,
literally me every time I'm like, hey, that's a great idea, Andy. You'll definitely remember it. It is that great. And
Ariel was like, hey, if you want, I can text you like when it's 10 o'clock so that you get, I'm like, oh no, I'll be fine. So anyway, I almost did not get tickets, but I did. So I am very excited about being able to see it in a more cinematic form, right?
Yeah.
And being able to possibly experience that music in a more cinematic place.
It deserves it. It deserves it. I can say that.
Yeah. So yeah. So I am excited. I think it's great.
My hope, and I hope everybody listening or watching this who is going to the theater show, I don't know when you're putting this up, Callie, but okay, cool. So you can have time. So if it does come out before everyone sees it in the theater, if you have tickets, I just hope that you bring the vibes that were in our theater. Because granted, our theater, while it did have people like the Prancing Pony podcast and KnewBetta and Lauren Does Cosplay and Swolhirrim, all these people who obviously think about this stuff every day. There were a lot of people there that were more casual fans or fans of the movies, and the energy, just people that were excited. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to know jack about this show to enjoy it, which is I love. And if the energy, everyone just bring just like your positive, like awesome energy that we normally see in our circles. I think that is the best. It's very, there have only been a few movies that I've seen where like the audience was like all on the same level. The biggest example I can think of is when me and my cousin saw Grindhouse, which was like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, like a joint movie showing of Planet Terror and Death Proof. I don't know if any of y'all.
I know Death Proof.
So they came out, they were released together, and they had fake trailers in the middle, but that crowd, and it was a midnight showing in Joplin, Missouri, of all places, but they were all the same. We were all on the same vibe. So like we clapped together, we cheered, like we like groaned at the same, you know what I mean? Like we clapped at the end, like we were those people. And I hope that y'all like get into it the same way, because we were clapping and we were going, oh, and like, we were like, clapping every time somebody entered the screen. Like, I don't know. I loved that. I think that's really fun. And makes it, like
it makes you feel like part of it, right? Like,
like
you were just watching it, but you felt like part of it.
And like what terrified me at first, but also now like excites me about this theater showing is I had to go through 4 different theaters within like a 10-mile radius to get tickets. They were like sold out. And I was like, I'm not going to get these. I am not going to get these. And I found one that had them, but like, that makes me happy. I would rather that than go and be like, oh, I'm like the only person in the theater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that there's like 5 showings within like 20 miles here and they're all sold out, like
that's amazing.
That makes me feel
so
good.
Cool.
Right? Like
the
I'm
whole
excited about
going.
that. Yeah. Which is funny because I'm like I did not expect I thought one in Salt Lake City would have.
What's funny is like
Who are
whenever
all
I
these fans?
mention the show to my coworkers, they're like, I didn't know Amazon was doing a show. I'm like, all right.
How dare
But they're clearly reaching the people that want
Right.
to know. You know what I mean? So
Right.
good for Amazon for their targeted ads.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I think there has not, to jump off of something that KnewBetta said a long time ago at the very beginning of this podcast. There has not been a single episode of the Swolhirrim that we have not mentioned Kali since we got into this Discord. And I think like the fact that you had us come on to do this and talk about the excitement, you literally could have had anybody in that Discord do this. Like, and that's great. Like, that's the place that you've cultivated. And what I mean by that is like, everybody is so excited. We have this group of people who feel, and some more than others, right? Obviously some more than others, but who feel this excitement, who have a joy, who aren't cynical about, that Amazon is putting it on and that everybody's just a bunch of shills and everything else. We're there. And even with legitimate concerns, even with people with actual complaints. And we have put things out that we have already, just the tiny bit that we've had, that we've said like, I don't know that I love this, or I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy this. Right. But you have done such a good job at doing what Carlos said that, hopefully we were doing in our podcast, of like weeding out people who are shitty and people who just, you know what I mean? And so we have this wonderful group of people who, like Willie said, we can disagree about pieces. One of the, Andie said that I'm coming up on her podcast and we're going to talk about things like that. And we get to have those disagreements. We're not in an echo chamber, right? But we all have a joy of this. Nobody is angry that this is happening. Nobody's upset that a single change has been made. And that, I think, just speaks volumes to who it is that we get to associate with. And like I said, I mean, Kali, you could have asked anybody to be on here and they all would have been just as excited, which is, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's a fantastic group of people to be around.
Yeah, our community is truly amazing. Like 100% shout out to everybody and for making it the positive space and safe space that it is. We have some phenomenal discussions and people just sharing their lives, Tolkien related or not. And it's really beautiful, and it makes any kind of thing that I call work like that any efforts that I put into this makes it just so worth it. So thank you too for being on this episode and sharing your excitement with myself and KnewBetta. Before we wrap up though, being our good podcast friends, are there anything or like any plans that you have for your podcast while this show will be airing? We're hoping to do it on a weekly. We don't know yet, given KnewBetta's schedule, if he'll be able to make every wrap up episode, but we'll hopefully do like a wrap up Wednesdays or something and do that each week and have different guests and probably you guys again if you don't mind. So our podcast will hopefully be following the show while it's airing and giving weekly sort of breakdowns and thoughts. How about you?
Chris, I think you gotta go first.
So we are going to do that. And we've been talking about it since about January of kind of what our plan is moving forward. We're going to continue on, doing now my mind is blank, but basically doing a history and then talking about characters, a profile, right? But we will have 30-minute unedited wrap-ups that we will I'm just going to throw, because basically I don't want to put too much more work on my plate when it comes to these types of things. So Carlos and I have practiced a little bit. And basically it's just going to be, we want to keep it 30 to 45 minutes, which is significantly longer if you've listened to, or significantly shorter if you've listened to the Swolhirrim of what our normal length is, especially if you listen to the one with Kali, which was 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
I know. What are you gonna do? Put a timer on and then stop?
Yes, absolutely. So we're like, we are going CrossFit style. I'm gonna put a timer on the wall, and and we're done when you're done. So we're
work out during the wrap up episode.
So we're gonna do it. Like I said, 30-minute episodes. And we'll still keep our other ones that will continue to come out weekly, bi-weekly, whenever the hell I decide to put it out there. But those ones will be out probably on Saturday. Will be the plan. So that is a warning, and I'll put those up too. If you are not watching them immediately and you want to listen to our wrap up, just wait, because we're going to be putting them up basically the next day. So yeah, that's kind of our plan. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be exciting to, try to do some of those things with you guys and other people in the community as well, and bring people on to I think as the shows air, it will be interesting to like episode 4, something happens in episode 4 and I'm like, ooh, this person will be a good person to have for that episode. You know what I mean? And just bring somebody on as they go and as they air, and what I think. And obviously the second that those come out and we've all seen them, we're all going to be chit-chatting about them on our Discord. So it'll be easy to know who's going to come on and all of that. So, yeah, that's kind of our thoughts on it.
Amazing. Looking forward to it. What about you, Andy?
Well, girlfriend,
what about us, Andy?
Yeah, right.
I still have not got used to that.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I mean, it's like my baby, but I share. So it's interesting. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I know that you are going to be doing something, and you are going to be, I feel like everybody's going to be doing something, but I almost want to do, here is a dream that I had once upon a time of just doing, so I've played with the idea of putting up our episodes on YouTube, and I haven't done it yet, but I did start like a channel where they could live, and I'm almost like, what if we did like a YouTube live of just like, maybe it's Saturday, maybe it's Friday night, and like we just get together, like the people that we love, and just like live react. I think it would be a little unhinged and maybe not as structured as what we normally do, but I'm almost just kind of like, everybody's going to be analyzing the fuck out of this thing, right? And sorry, but I'm just thinking like, I don't know, in the theme of, so the idea behind the name Tolkien with Friends is that it is friends just genuinely chatting about something. And I have to fidget while I talk, so while I'm like coming up with an idea on the spot. So here's my thinking, is that in the spirit of trying to capture genuine conversations between friends about nerdy shit, I would kind of want to experiment with the idea of like doing a YouTube live, and like we gather whoever's around to hop in, and we just blab for a little bit and it's like, I wouldn't expect us to have all our thoughts hashed out or like every theory explained, but just to talk about what we've seen and like our initial gut reactions. And I think that would be something relatively low lift compared to like what we do otherwise.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
So everybody can look forward to getting in on that and actually participating.
Yeah.
And all sounds like all three of us will be looking for guests and ready to welcome thoughts and and reactions onto our podcast shows. So lots to look out for in the next 7-8 weeks. It is an exciting time to be a Tolkien fan.
Very.
For sure. Do you guys want to, I know I just had you go over your podcast, but do you want to recap your personal socials as well?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys know the @the _Swolhirrim, right? And if you go to the Instagram, I actually have a link tree on there that goes to a bunch of other places, our Patreon, TikTok, and now we've got merch. Everybody's getting merch. It's great, right? But I recently got my hoodie, my shirt, and my mug, and they're great. So if you want any of that stuff, right, go check that out. And then other than that, like Kali said, I was recently on a podcast where I was mostly talking about brewing, fermentation, things like that, which is what I do to live. And my some bearded nerd is mostly that stuff. I have recently ranted a little bit when it comes to trolls on the internet, which is always fun. I will always make a video trying to take down a troll, which is just who I am. So if you want to catch those as well, I am some bearded nerd on TikTok. Anywhere else it's not really important. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so like obviously you can follow Tolkien with Friends on Instagram, and then it's just Tolkien Friends on Twitter. And then as far as like TikTok,
Andy's trying to get me on Twitter, and it's not gonna happen. There's no way.
Fine, but I would tag Twitter. You.
This podcast is just created a Twitter account.
Yeah,
so Voices of Arda.
Nice.
Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's a vile place.
All right. Well, if you do, I would tag you and stuff. But so that's Tolkien with Friends. Obviously, the podcast is like kind of wherever you listen to podcasts. But for me personally, I'm too focused on the podcast to be doing it. I mean, like AndieINC is me on TikTok, which is I'm also the most active on. I have an AndieINC Twitter, but I don't really use it anymore because I'd rather do stuff for the podcast. And my Instagram is for my real friends, so sorry.
Ouch.
If anybody listening who's not on Instagram with her, now you know why.
Now you know how
well, I mean, like people, I don't want it to just be like where you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
I want to be able to say what I want.
You.
It's rude.
Awesome.
But it is actually me whenever you talk to like Tolkien friends on Twitter or Instagram or wherever. So same.
Excellent.
All right. So thank you again for an amazing episode. As usual, I will wrap up with a self-care tip. This week's self-care tip are 5 ideas. Sorry, if my cat, I don't know if you can hear my cat, but she is making noises and wants her supper, so I will wrap this up as fast as I can. I'm so sorry, cat. All right. 5 tips on how to deal with haters. Number 1, ignoring them completely is an option. Number 2, if they're being able to differentiate between just blind haters and people who actually come with valid criticisms is important. And so being able to acknowledge what someone is saying, if they have criticisms or points that are valid, being able to remove your emotions from it. Tip number 3 being to engage with and grow from constructive commentary, but never lowering yourself to the level of the haters, which I know is very hard to do, but for your own mental health, it can sometimes be better to just deal with people that hearts and minds that you can influence than the ones that are just out there to spew hate. Going into tip number 4, which is haters gonna hate. Uh, simply that. Don't kill yourself trying to please everyone. And tip number 5, the final one, is continue to be unapologetically you. Define your space, mark that territory, and don't let anyone push you out of it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And I want to just like to build on that as far as like taking care of you, and something that we see sometimes on social, especially with parasocial relationships, when we have these bigger TikTok creators, particularly women and people of color, fans will have a tendency to be like, oh, screw the haters, like, maybe doing some tone policing. But if you feel that you need to respond to something, like, that's your boundary to set, right? And that is, how, whatever, keeps your cup full. And sometimes letting things go isn't an option. And sometimes ignoring everything is what you have to do to, again, keep your cup full. So just a reminder that, like, when you are, trying to support someone who is dealing with trolls or something, know that, like, the way that they deal with it, particularly the folks that we know and love, the way that they deal with it is, it's not really your problem. It's not really yours to do for them, or to tell them how, if they did it well or right, because there's not really a correct way to handle trolls on the internet. I mean, my personal favorite strategy is to just put it in our chat and let Chris and Jeff go forward and conquer.
We do like to battle a troll now and then.
They do like to fight the trolls, yeah.
Because I mean, just having awareness of your spoons, which I think is something that Kali speaks to some of the time, is just like, sometimes I will go, I mean, I think KnewBetta, like, he always remembers, like, when I had some time on my hands in February, and that was when a lot of hate was being spewed, and I wasn't ready to sit, I wasn't ready to let people like Kali and KnewBetta, people that we love, deal with it by themselves. And right now, like, I just have a different job, and like, I'm tired. So, and it doesn't crop up in my For You page has changed a little bit, and I don't see it as much. So, yeah, it's just, you do you, boo.
Yeah, no, I think those are great. I think those are great steps, and having a support system, like Andie was saying, is good. If you do, find yourself in a position that you're like, I would like for this person to get battled if anybody is open for it. You know what I mean? And sometimes you're not, and sometimes you don't even want to deal with it. And what I've told people, and I think a lot of us are in this same vein, where we don't feel, well, okay, I'll speak for myself. I don't feel like I need to have a certain amount of people. It's great that I now have 1,000 followers, right, on the Swolhirrim, and we can do lives, and it's been a lot of fun being able to do that. I don't need to keep you on my page. I'll block you. I have no problem doing that. And there are haters of that, and haters that will come out and be like, oh, well, like almost make you feel like a coward for doing it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is my house. This is something I created. And if I don't want you there, you're gone. Like, I don't have to have you around. You being there doesn't benefit me at all. So I can just say goodbye. So if you are also in that position, the block button's your friend, and it doesn't make you a coward. It doesn't make you any less of a person. It simply is you saying, like, I don't need to interact with this person anymore, and neither do my followers, right? Neither do the people who actually care. And you just kick them out of your house. It's easy.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. All right. Well, thank you, you two, again for joining myself and KnewBetta on this another wonderful episode of Voices of Arda. I'm KaliCosplay, and thank you for listening. Have a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.